It's all right. Ladies and gentlemen. So I know I call myself the red bearded assassin, and I recently discovered a product by a young lady that is just taking my beard care to the next level. And so I invited her on the podcast. We have Shavonne in the building on the podcast. What's going on?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm super excited.
Anytime. So we got a few things to talk about. First, you are a business owner. I
Yes.
don't even remember how long we've been following each other before I like found out that you had like a beard oil and balm line, and I was like, let me
Mm-hmm.
order it, and I've been addicted ever since. So I wanted to talk to you, at least start off the conversation there. What was it
Mm-hmm.
like starting your own business? Because it's not just beard care, beard oil. Like you have a
No.
whole skincare and self care line, and like
Yes.
what was it like starting, like, because most people start with like a product, but what was it like
Right.
having like this whole line of product and you've added some too? What's that
Mm-hmm.
like?
It's been very exciting. Okay. So the reason I started, so the business is called Sweet Sugar Baby. And the reason I started is because unfortunately I became a widow about 3 years ago. And I had two little kids. So at the time they were 2 and 3.
Mhm.
So, kids are on you like white on rice, but when something tragic happens, they kind of cling to you a little bit more.
Definitely.
So as the only surviving parent, I was just swamped with trying to figure out how to manage life. So it was very overwhelming. I was stressed out. I still had to go to work. I still had to take care of the kids, and it was just trying to figure everything out. So I needed a way for me to decompress and for me to take care of myself so that I didn't, wear myself too thin. So I thought of an idea because I'm like, the only time I have to myself is when I'm in the shower. And sometimes not even when I'm in the shower, because kids they bust in on you.
Yep.
But I
No
was like,
shame.
no shame, no shame. So I was like, I'm gonna make some sugar scrubs. And I was like, this is gonna be a little piece of self-care that I can actually engage in on a constant basis for myself, just taking a break from reality. So I started doing that, and my sugar scrubs are really, really nice. So I was like, okay. And I gave some out to my mom, gave some to my sisters, and I started the business because it made me feel good when I was able to take care of my body, take care of my skin, and then it just kind of evolved. You do one thing, and people are like, okay, you got the sugar scrubs, but do you have a face mask? And I'm like, okay, y'all need a face mask. I'm gonna make the face mask. Then it's like the face scrub, the foot scrub, the lip balm, just everything. And it just eventually evolved. And I had to make sure that I took care of the fellas with the beard balm and the beard oil, things like that. So it evolves. You got to go with the flow of things.
Definitely. And I mean
Mm-hmm.
that's what it really is all about, is like you have to be able to adapt if you're going to
Yeah.
start anything. And that's one thing, like, because I started my own photography business, and that's one of the biggest
Mm.
things that I had to learn for myself, is like you got to keep adapting if you're gonna do something, and find new ways to add things to it without
Mm-hmm.
necessarily adding a bunch of overhead or
Right.
stress on yourself. So what's the product that you're most proud of, or
Oh
that you
my
have?
gosh. I love everything, obviously. I do love my lip scrubs. My lip scrubs are the bomb. I'm growing up, I used to go to the little, hair beauty supply store and get little lip gloss. And so I really just, especially as a black woman, love my lips. So my lip scrubs, they exfoliate my lips, they make them feel all nice and pretty. And I have a lip balm that goes with the lip scrub. So I'm just, my lips, they be popping, I like that. But then I also do like I have a body oil that I just created, and
Mhm.
it goes on really nice and easy. And when I went to Jamaica, that was the only thing I used, and I looked like I was from Jamaica. Okay, so I love the body oil as well.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Hmm.
That's what's up. And when you first, what was the most difficult thing when you wanted to start your own business? Because like it's I think it's different for everybody, and depending on the industry that they were with. What was the
Hmm.
biggest hardship for you?
Time.
Oh yeah.
Time, because if you're starting anything on your own, you have to try to figure out how you're going to make time to, one, research it, to create the products, to test the products out while you're still living the life that you live, right? So I'm still working. I still have my kids. They're, they have activities. I'm still trying to maintain a healthy relationship. Like, it's just literally, how do you find time to pursue your passion? That's the biggest thing for me, at least.
Yeah, and I said before on the episode that I did before is that if you deny yourself that time, you're really like cutting out like from your own mental health, from your own growth and everything. So like I know, especially as adults and we have kids and everything, it's easy to think of all the reasons why you're wrong for taking that time for your own self or your business. But really, you owe yourself that. If nothing else, if you work for everybody else and everything, that's all fine. But you gotta find time for your own passions and your own desires. So
I think it keeps you going too.
Yeah,
it kind of when you wake up and even though you have to go to work, you're like, okay, but I get to do this photo shoot after work, and it's like it's a piece of your creativity just overflowing.
For sure.
So I think it's cool.
For sure. Now, outside of owning your own business, you are a creative too. How do you like? So, and I don't talk to a lot of people who like, because I own my own business and obviously I'm a creative too. But like, and people always ask like, how do you juggle all of it? So I give my answers, but how do you find time to create and have a business?
I don't know. It's a juggling act, like, 1 week you're like, okay, I got 3 episodes recorded, I'm good. And then in 3 weeks, you're like, I have nothing ready for the next week, because life happens. So like you were saying earlier, like being adaptable, like, being able to kind of go with the flow at times. I'm trying to work on being like tighter with the podcast because, the weeks come by really quick. If you're dropping an episode every week, it's like, oh my God, I got to record something. So sometimes I'll try to record when I can. But I do try to drop an episode every week, no matter what's going on or, how things happen. But I try to make the time because when you really are passionate about something, you're going to find the time to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. We find time for everything. And the way that I look at it too is like I replace the time that I used to sit there scrolling on the internet or social media with like my business and my podcast now. Like that's what I've replaced it with. And so you can find time if you're really passionate about it. The thing that I want to ask you is like now with your children, what do you think that they've learned from seeing you have your own business? I don't know how old your children are, but like I have teenagers, so like me doing my daughter has picked up on my love of photography, and I didn't even push it on her or anything. She randomly asked me if she can have one of my old cameras, and then now people don't know this, but like every picture that I've posted that has looked professional in like the last 6 months, my daughter's done.
Really?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you're building a legacy for her, and she's following in your footsteps.
And it's so funny because I named my photography company Legacy Visions, and she really has this idea in her head that she's going to take it over after she gets out of college. Like I posted it, I don't know if you saw it, I posted a picture where it was like me in red lighting, and it was my neon sign kind of off kilter. Yeah. And I was just in the studio. I was actually putting up a light or something, and she said, "Dad, stay right there." She went and got her camera, and then she like moved stuff around. She was like, "Just stay, don't move." And she took the picture, and I'm like, I think that's my favorite picture of me ever.
It's she has the eye.
Yeah, exactly.
She has the eye. For me, I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, when you're doing what you do, you're in that zone constantly. Your kids are around you, so they are going to naturally pick up on the things that you are doing. You know how it's like, you have the kids that are doing crazy stuff, and you're like, well, where's your parents? The parents are doing crazy stuff too, right? So the kids just are naturally they're going to pick up on everything that you do. So I do my business. My boys have their own business. They're starting to understand the concept of what business means. And, when you build this business, you actually get money from the business. And I have a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old. So the 7-year-old will be turning 8 in October, but he's very business minded, and he means business. He'll tell you how much it costs, and he wants his money right now, but I used to do like vendor events prior to the pandemic. So they would come out to the events and they would see what it actually means to have your own pop-up shop, and what they haven't had a chance to have a pop-up. You know what? Actually, they have. there was a kids event probably 2 years ago, and they had a pop-up shop.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran the business. They were kind of all over the place, but it gave them a little idea of what it means to own your own business. So they have their own little mock-up business. And I think it's good. I think it's important for kids to know that there is more than one possibility of just going to college, because nowadays college may be obsolete soon, because the millennials have found a way to bypass going to college, get certifications, and are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I want them to be free thinkers and to come up with their own dreams, and
Yeah, I know. I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, look, go to college if you know that something
Mm-hmm.
that you want to do needs that degree, then go to college.
Right.
But I also
Right.
told my kids, especially my oldest son, is he's 15 and he's getting closer to getting to that point. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like you have to go right to college right after high school.
Mm-hmm.
Take a couple of years if
Mm-hmm.
you need it to kind of figure yourself out. Because I think so many people feel like they have to jump to
They
college
have to
right
do it.
after high school. They then
Mm-hmm.
put themselves in debt, spending 3 years just taking meaningless classes before they really know what they want to do. So
Yeah, and honestly, it's when we were in our ages. I'm sure you're in your 30s, I'm in my 30s. It was kind of like you gotta go to college. That was the
yeah.
way to do it. But I've seen on TikTok so many people that have really found their own niche, and they're teaching
Mhm.
other people how to do it. And I have college funds for the boys, so I want them to understand business if they do want to go into business. But I do know that it is multiple ways that they can actually earn money. So
One of the biggest examples I can, because like I own my own photography, I do
Mhm.
short films or whatever. I didn't go to school for any of that. I
Mm.
applied for this job, and I actually I can't say what it is right now, but
Mhm.
I applied for this job, and almost everybody else who applied what did go to school for cinematography. They went to
Mhm.
school for filmmaking.
Mhm.
I got it and I didn't go. And it's like,
Really?
yeah, I'm completely self-taught with film. Like I went to YouTube University. I did work on
There you go.
I went to I took Skillshare.
Mhm.
And then like I went out and learned everything my own. And like now I've worked on I've done two of my own short films. I've worked on two other people's films, a
Wow.
documentary, and then I just got hired for something that I'll probably tell you about after we start recording. I don't want to release it yet, but
Wow.
yeah, so
Congratulations.
thank you.
That's major.
Yeah,
That's major.
and like I always tell people, like one of the biggest phrases that I have is like you have to be willing to bet on yourself. And I think the
Mhm.
thing is that like it's funny how when you're a kid, right? Somebody could have given you a box and a bag of Legos, and you
Mhm.
would have figured it out. And
Mhm.
we somehow have normalized taking the creativity
Yes.
out of our children as they get older,
Yes.
and like try to fit them in a certain box of
Yes.
thinking and way. And like I think once you get to the point as an adult to realize, like, no, that imagination that I had before as a kid, that's what I should have held on to. And then
Right.
the sky's the limit when it comes to that. But kind of jumping off that, what do you think is the biggest misconception, both positive and negative, that people have about going into business for yourself?
The negative, the biggest negative misconception is I feel like people assume that you jump in and you're going to have all these people backing you, and it's just going to be
Hmm.
this wonderful experience. The positive is that people think that you have to have skills, or you have to have everything situated before you jump in.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like I tell people you have to jump off the plane and build your parachute as you go down, because you're never going to have everything 100% situated. And a lot
That's
of
a good
times
point.
when we do have that idea of I have to make it perfect, it's really procrastination and fear and doubt kind of standing in between us and us actually executing that idea and that plan. It's just kind of like, well, but I'm still trying to perfect it. It's like you're not going to perfect it. You have to get in there, and you have to understand how the process goes, and you have to tweak it as you go. Also, the misconception of you're going to have all these people behind you and they're going to be supporting you, or the idea that people think that their families are supposed to support their business.
Yeah.
What I've realized is that if a person doesn't have business experience and has never done a business, they don't understand what really goes on behind business. So they don't necessarily support it because they're just like, oh, that's another person with the business, not understanding that you've put hours and hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars behind your craft, and you would expect that your sister would support you, but maybe they won't, and it's okay. But once you are into business, you're like, okay, I see what you're doing, I appreciate it, I'm gonna just buy something just because I understand that you're struggling, or that one order could have made your complete day, so
Definitely.
that's my thoughts on business.
Definitely. That's what kind of led me to your product, because I saw, because we had interacted on Twitter, and I saw, I was like, oh, she got a beard oil. Like, let me go and support. Like I said, I'm freaking addicted. But
thank you. Listen,
I gotta do an order for my dad. So yeah.
That's what's up. I appreciate your support. And you took a picture of the product, and I was like, yo, this is not, the lighting was perfect. I was like, that is so, you gave me a completely different take on the product. So I appreciate that photo that you took as well. That was awesome.
Anytime. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Now I want to ask a question, because it's something that you mentioned, and if I know we're not actually live, so if I need to cut this out, I can. But
no.
But you mentioned how you lost your husband, unfortunately, and what was that like parenting? And because I couldn't, like, even though me and my kid's mother aren't together, we were married for almost 11 years.
Wow.
I can't imagine having to explain to them that situation. What was that like as a parent?
Well, I am a mental health therapist, so I deal with tough things, but dealing with things in professionally being able to handle something in a professional setting is completely different from having to handle real life with you in the middle of the emotions and having to explain that to a 2 and 3 year old. It was rough when it happened, because it was a sudden thing. It wasn't a drawn out, because there's a difference between a quick death and a 10-month, process of a person dying. I feel like, the process of a person dying, you have more time to kind of gather your thoughts and prepare the family. Since it was a sudden death, it was like, oh, okay, my whole life has changed literally overnight. I did explain it to the boys as much as I could, and I knew I had to, because I'm like, we were a 2-people household. There is no way that you can just, after a day or two, it's like, well, where is daddy? What is going on? So I did explain it to them. They didn't understand it to the extent that they understand it now, and even still, they don't understand it that much. But I put them in a therapy group down here, and they've been in that therapy group since it happened. So for the last 3 or 4 years. So as they were growing up, they were able to understand more and process more. And even now they'll ask me certain questions, and I'm like, I don't have the answer to that, but I'll let them talk about it. One thing about death is, for me, I didn't want their father's death to be like a sore spot. I didn't want it to be discussed in, they mentioned their father and I'm boohoo crying. I wanted to be happy. So they'll mention him and I'm laughing, I'm talking, I'm showing them positive pictures and all of these different things, because I wanted his memory to always be an uplifting experience for them. And I always talk about it. But in that instance, everybody don't really talk about death. That's not something that we do as a community. We usually deal with it when it happens, and when it happens, it's kind of like a don't mention that person, because that person is going to break down if you talk about them. So the other people kind of had that reaction around the death of my late husband, but for me, within the house, we would talk about it, laugh, show pictures, and it was just an uplifting experience. Now the boys are well adjusted. It's still it's tough for them, I would assume, because they're growing up, they're young men, and they're growing up without their father. But I do have a lot of men in my life that they rally around them. They're there for daddy and donuts. So they have a lot of support. It'll never be the same, but they do have a lot of support. So it was rough. But I think I handled it as well as I could. I also got therapy as well because, um, at my age, at the time that it happened, obviously I'm the only young adult widow that I knew.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have anybody to help me navigate this part of my life because all of my friends were happily married with kids and living their life. And I'm just like, I'm a widow now and I am single with 2 kids and I'm a single mom now. Like it just was
Yeah.
a lot of different role changes at once. So it was tough for sure. It was tough.
What what was the thing that you use? I know you said you had to go to therapy, which is
Mm-hmm.
everyone, and I say this to everyone: go to therapy. Like seriously, like me and my therapist, I can hug him every day in my life because the fact that I'm together is a large part in due to him, and I
Yes.
don't take that lightly. But
Yes.
what are some of the things that you use to center yourself? Like, what are the things when you need to escape? Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, for me, it's me going downstairs in the basement listening to my vinyls. Like that's like
Mm-hmm.
my glass of tequila, and I just
Mm-hmm.
go down and have my peace. What's your kind of thing to center yourself?
I love being outside. So
Okay.
I love just connecting with nature. I love going outside to the park. I like going walking. I love a, nice glass of wine now. That's my vibe. It's my vibe. And I love going out. Like I'm a experience type of person. So I love being out. I love going to brunches and just connecting with people. But the biggest thing for me is just probably being outside,
Okay.
being outside, being in the sun.
Okay. Yeah, the sun.
Hmm.
It's funny how like being outside and it's refreshing to the
It
soul.
is. It
Like
is.
it's like, but especially on the weekends, I don't have my kids. I'll throw
Mm-hmm.
some of my camera equipment in my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find somewhere to go explore and just be outside.
It's
Like,
beautiful. It's like
yeah,
you're reconnecting. That's where you're supposed to be.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. What is something, and this is one of the last questions I ask any other creative or business owner that's on here.
Mm-hmm.
What has being the business owner and the creative taught you about yourself that you didn't know, that you didn't, a skill or something that you didn't think that you had coming into it?
Whew. It taught me a few things. Few things. One thing that it taught me was that I could actually be consistent in doing something.
Okay.
I had done like business in the past. We've all tried our hand at something and just been like, I don't do that anymore. When I started this business, I was like, if I do this, I got to do this. I got to be consistent and I have to show up every single day, whether I'm sick, whether I'm tired, whether I'm on vacation, whether I'm not. I have to show up. So that I can actually show up for myself and be consistent. That's what one thing that it showed me. And another thing it showed me is that I can actually speak and I am a
Mm.
pretty good communicator. In anything dealing with business, you have to be able to communicate. When I was in college, the public speaking course was my most feared course, like worse than math. I was like, I don't know. I can't talk. I can't be in front of other people. But as a business owner, you have to connect with people. If you do not connect with people, other businesses, just random people on the street, you are not going to get very far in business. And the people that you can connect with in business, even if it's not even the same type of business, they can help you in so many ways by, networking and connecting you with other people and you just bouncing ideas off of them. So just my communication skills, they've really shocked me, but communication and showing up for myself.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think a lot of us learn. Like I used to be an extreme introvert, meaning that I did not talk in
Mm.
public situations at all. The fact that like now I've like talked publicly at like festivals and panels and stuff, like
Wow.
I never would have thought that I've been able to do that. So that's definitely what something that I had to learn about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. Everyone, I think, when you're a creative in a podcast, so you have that
Mm-hmm.
episode that you go back to, or that when
Mm-hmm.
you listen to, you were like, okay, I'm good at this. What was that
Mm-hmm.
episode for you?
You know what? For me, it was my very first episode
Okay.
because when you're podcasting, you have to see And you have to think about how real are you going to be with the people? You know, are you going to just kind of read the information off and talk to people, or are you going to be transparent? One of my favorite podcasters is Tahoe TV. You know,
Okay.
Tahoe. He's
Yeah.
so shameless, hardest off podcast. This man is phenomenal, you know, and to me, he's so phenomenal because he will tell you how he feels. And it's just, he will tell you how he feels. He will tell you the most embarrassing thing that's happened to him. He will tell you when he, you know, was wrong. He will apologize. He will say when he's had personal conflict. And it's really, I really feel like I have a view of his soul when he speaks. You know, he's crazy, but I really feel like I am connected to him. And the reason I feel like I'm connected is because he's so transparent with his life. He's not embarrassed about anything. He's like, look, it is what it is. This is what my situation is, and here I am. So when I started my podcast, I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real. So I did share my story on my very first episode, and I was very transparent, and it was very scary. And I was just like, Lord, like I'm gonna press send, and once I press send, that's it, you know. But my thing is, and I say this on my podcast, if I am not going to be real with you, there is no point for me to even record. Like for what? For what? You can watch a YouTube video if you want to be entertained by fiction and all these other things. But if you're connecting with me, I want to connect with you, and I want to build a community. I want people to know that I am the same as them. When I do my episodes, I am preaching to myself. You know, it's not even on some, you know, talking to them and telling them how to improve their life. Like I listen back to my episodes like, oh, that was good. You know, I'm not a narcissist, but I'm like, that was good, you know,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel good. And I feel good about what I do and what I put out there. So I'm proud of my podcast and my episodes. So, you know, that's what makes me happy. But that's what made me feel like, all right, I'm kind of, you know, I do this podcast thing too. You know what I'm saying? I didn't mention my podcast. It's called Self Care After Dark, and it's on every streaming platform except Pandora and all those things. But it's on the major Apple and Anchor and Google and stuff like that. So
Y'all definitely need to check it out because it's an amazing podcast, and I'm not
thank
just, you know,
you.
I've been supportive of you since
You
we
have
so.
listen. You are there. You are there, and I appreciate you so much. I really do.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, hey, it's honest, and I try to listen to anytime a new podcast starts. I try to listen to
Mm-hmm.
most that come across me at least for a couple episodes to see
Mm-hmm.
if I can rock with it. But I really
Mm-hmm.
do, really do enjoy your podcast a
Thank
lot.
you. I
So you're onto
appreciate
something
it.
special there.
Thank
Um,
you.
but that's it. I got nothing
That's
else for you. I just wanted to
it.
have, that's it. That's it. I just wanted to have a conversation with you.
This was nice. I like this.
Yeah,
You
we're gonna have to do
know.
this again. Next time we're gonna have to get deep.
Listen, I'm ready. Because I can get deep. I really enjoy getting deep, but I
Yeah,
do enjoy laughing and just because life is so serious. But
yeah,
I do sometimes we do need to take it there, you know,
yeah.
in a lighthearted, relatable type of way. But sometimes we got to get a little deep, you
Yeah,
know.
especially you. I think you saw my video from my last episode. I got some
Mm-hmm.
people in their feelings because I got a little real about this podcasting game. So it was nice to
Yeah,
just have a conversation. You know, people,
yeah.
but hit dogs bark is what I say. So I just leave it
Absolutely.
at that.
But it's the podcast community. It's supportive. It's great. I hop in and I hop out. Like,
Yep.
you know, I don't have time for the drama and the little, you know, people be like, you heard about that? And I'm just like, I had no idea. I don't want to know.
Hmm.
That's okay. We're good.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know?
for me, like I used to when I first got into the community, I was like, I used to stay on top of that type of stuff, but now it's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't have time. I'm not in any drama. I ain't got time for
No,
nobody else's
no,
drama. I'm here to
no.
build. I'm here to collab. I'm here to connect. If y'all want to do some
Grow.
work, let's work. All that
Let's
other
go.
stuff, I ain't got
Right.
time for. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
all right.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. But give them your social media so they can go ahead and follow you and everything.
Okay, so I am on Instagram. You can follow my business. It's Sweet Sugar Baby, and that's sugar without the R. I am on IG, Self Care After Dark podcast. On Twitter, I am Self Care After D1. And on Twitter, I am One Sweet Sugar Baby. You can find all of my skincare products on sweetsugarbaby.com. And you can tune into my podcast, Self Care After Dark podcast, on all streaming sites.
Y'all better go and support her. I'm gonna be
Support
checking in. Go
me.
and support. Go if you're bearded, go and buy the beard oil. I can
Period.
attest to that. So yeah, make sure you guys go and support. Thank you so much for joining me. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Anytime. We gotta do this again.
Yeah, definitely.
This was fun. This was fun.
Definitely,
Thank you so
definitely.
much.
Anytime,
All right.
anytime. And bam, done recording.
All right. That was perfect.
All
That
right,
was
yeah.
really fun. I'm serious. If you have a topic, you have a whatever, I'm down to discuss anything. It can be therapeutic, it can be women,